Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Money Talks. I'm your host, Bill Barhydt, founder and CEO of Abra. So Money Talks is the show where we get into all things crypto. We talk about the latest with Abra. I answer all of your questions. We talk about the latest happenings in the crypto world. And we have a little fun and talk about anything we want. So we're broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter/Periscope. And you can ask questions via all those channels. They'll be funneled by the Abra team to me. You can send, if you have a support question, we have support staff that will try to answer right in line, or we'll ask you to send them an email for more details. Our support line is support@abra.com. That's the best way to get real-time help. And if you have a question for the show that you prefer to send via email, you can send that to hello@abra.com, and it will also get funneled into the Q&A stream here. So I see we've got some questions already. Let me get to a few of my weekly talking points here that we also cover in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, you should. You can get access to the newsletter at blog.abra.com. So last week we talked about inflation and where to put your money. Putting money in interest-bearing accounts like Abra, earning up to 10% on US dollar deposits is really just the first step. Banks and money are the last of the legacy businesses that haven't been put out of business and disintermediated by software and the internet. Their time has come and good riddance. I believe the future of banking is crypto. Governments will eventually lose control of money in banking. Now, I don't know when it will happen, but when it does, it's going to happen very, very quickly. I think that this transition is going to happen in different stages, and we'll actually see those stages happening before our eyes, although by the time this is all transpired, we won't actually even know that it's happened. It'll just have happened, right? So the first part has already been happening. We've all seen it. If you're using Abra, you've been using it. And that's, of course, crypto trading, where stablecoins are replacing bank accounts for crypto trading. Right? Myriad real-world assets are being digitized. Derivatives and other banking functions are now being imitated via several DeFi projects, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Pricing oracles may become the first truly important regulated entities in finance. A pricing oracle is somebody who takes a real-world price and makes it available inside of a smart contract. Abra is playing here today by offering more than 100 crypto assets for trading and custody. So part two is lending. Stablecoins will eventually replace bank-based settlement for loan distribution and collections, right? This is the first real competition to the traditional banking system. Abra is playing here today by offering yields of up to 10% on US dollar deposits and 4% on Bitcoin and Ethereum deposits. Third part is payments. Card networks and peer-to-peer and person-to-person money transfer networks will disintermediate banks by settling directly via stablecoins. I'm sure we'll see major payment systems use stablecoins in the coming weeks and months. Now think about that. We're talking about potentially trillions of dollars that will migrate over many years to be crypto-based for settlement. The last, of course, is money itself. Now we have to separate banking from money, right? So in parallel to the, let's call them banking-oriented phases that I just outlined above, Bitcoin will become a replacement to money. It may not become the only replacement, but it will certainly become a key replacement. This process is clearly already underway. As government currencies fail in Venezuela, Turkey, Argentina, and other places, local consumers have started to flock to Bitcoin. Governments are inevitably and will continue to fight back. But these fiat failures are really just accelerants. The actual rocket fuel is inherent in the hardness of Bitcoin as a financial asset. Hardness refers to the stock-to-flow value of Bitcoin versus even gold. We've talked about this in the past, which will eventually approach infinity as new Bitcoin stops being created. Right? So in other words, the less the new amount of something that's created there is, the more valuable, right, the existing asset stays. And that we refer to as the hardness of the asset. Okay? So the other key kind of metric we're looking at Abra is this idea of the hunt for yield. We're seeing a storm brewing right now between centralized and decentralized yield-generating services. Now, they both have pros and cons. We're going to have an honest discussion about both, and I hope you'll provide some commentary and questions, and we'll get into it on both. Both options are getting a lot of attention right now, whereas we're living in a world where banks are offering literally zero interest on deposits and stocks seem out of touch with economic reality. So while the future may be in this decentralized finance known as DeFi, consumers are currently better off with centralized solutions like Abra for generating yield. Why? Well, the answer comes down to trust and execution. So let's talk about both. So let's start off with trust. So DeFi hacks in 2020 have led to over $35 million in losses, probably more. Now, in some cases, funds were subsequently recovered, but in other cases, they were not. Many of the issues with DeFi-based systems have to do with smart contract implementations, and testing these kind of executing smart contracts is very difficult and complex. Once you deploy the contract, you can't modify it. Bugs generally mean you have to deploy entirely new contracts and then figure out how to deal with existing contracts. On the other hand, centralized services like Abra will also invariably have bugs, the difference being that Abra can fix bugs quickly and without the resulting bugs causing consumers' funds to be siphoned off via malicious code. Over time, DeFi systems may offer advantages in this area as open source code will become more mature. So, for example, Ethereum-based ERC20 contracts with which most of you know as stablecoins or some ICO tokens are the basis, again, for stablecoins. They've become very stable, and I'm not aware of any successful hacks of ERC20 in the recent past. So the second part of the discussion is around execution, and here there's simply no comparison. Abra is able to offer rates that are significantly higher than DeFi services. For US dollar deposits, such as those on Tether, TrueUSD, USDC, Abra offers a 10% interest rate. DeFi services such as Compound and Aave are currently offering 3% on dollar deposits via DAI, another stablecoin. While these rates may converge with centralized services like Abra over time, right now the choice is crystal clear. Okay? So the other issue with DeFi systems is the current dependency on Ethereum. Now, until Ethereum 2.0 is launched and proven that it's clear that Ethereum will continue to buckle under its own weight. So the network is experiencing record high gas fees and congestion, which will only get worse until proof of stake is live and working correctly. Okay, so the future of banking is crypto for sure, and the future of finance probably includes DeFi. Abra looks forward to embracing DeFi as it matures and addresses the trust and execution issues that Abra excels at dealing with today. For now, I'll gladly place my trust with Abra and our experienced team of experts and our ability to manage my custody, trading, and crypto savings needs. So let's come back to this idea of generating yield. So last week, I walked through the math on the effects of inflation on your cash and the impact of having an interest-generating account like Abra. In case you missed it, here it is again. And of course, if you're watching this on a recording, you can fast forward past this. But let's do a quick mental exercise. So let's pretend you have $100,000, and let's assume that inflation is 2% a year. What do you do with this money? And quick hint: please don't rent a yacht and throw a party and throw away all your money. So first, if we leave all of our money in cash in a bank, what happens? With price inflation of 2% and currency inflation even worse, your money will be on a slow march towards being worthless over many years. For example, after 25 years, your account will still show $100,000, given that most banks now pay zero interest, but your money will be worth only $60,900 in today's dollars. That's a net loss of over $39,000 due to inflation. Inflation compounds just like interest does. Okay? So now let's assume we're able to invest our money in an interest-bearing account earning 10%. But of course, we have to assume the same rate of inflation of 2% to be fair. So after 25 years, your account would show a huge increase to $1,080,000 plus, and you would have the purchasing power of a whopping $684,000 in today's dollars, accounting for inflation. Whoa. So now, which scenario do I prefer? Well, obviously, I prefer the latter scenario. That's why I put my money where my mouth is and have invested in the Abra interest account, and I will continue to do so. Again, with the Abra interest account, I earn 10% on my dollars, 4% on my Bitcoin and Ethereum deposits. And I love getting my Monday morning push messages to my iPhone that I have free cash in the form of interest or free crypto in the form of interest waiting for me in my Abra app. Of course, I just keep that money in the Abra interest account so the interest can continue to compound automatically week after week and then eventually year after year. Okay, so it's really easy. If you haven't already downloaded the Abra app, you should do that now. We're going to get into some Q&A and some demos and some other and some other interesting concepts. And so you should have the Abra app on your phone. I've got my demo here ready, and I know we've got some questions coming in. So let's take a look. We've got people. Let's see. We've got questions here. We're going to jump around a little bit. We've got questions from the U.S., from the Philippines. I see some from Europe, from the UK and Germany. So let's start off here. Let's start off with a question from the Philippines. If I cash out my crypto at Union Bank into my dollar account in the Philippines, do I get dollars or pesos? That's an easy one. Your withdrawal will show up as Philippine pesos in your bank account. So thanks for that, Mark. Question from Chris. When considering an interest-bearing account in US dollar terms, which US dollar stablecoin is best? I see several options such as USDC, Tether, True USD, et cetera, et cetera. Are they all pretty much the same? And is there some reason to park your funds in one over the other? So effectively, all stablecoins are the same in Abra. The only thing I would say is if you're coming in from another currency, I suggest you use TUSD. That's True USD. I suggest you use TUSD. And the reason is if you actually wire the money out, you don't have to convert to another stablecoin. We always use True USD for wiring money out. So if you're holding money in Bitcoin or Tether or DAI or even another stablecoin, we always convert it to TUSD first. So if you're holding your stablecoin as TUSD, you save yourself that one extra step later. But in terms of actually generating interest, it doesn't matter at all. You will accrue the same amount of interest into the same dollar-based account, regardless of which stablecoin you're holding. Thanks for that, Chris. So we have a question from Graham. Graham asks, when will he be able to use his UK banks with Abra? Thank you. Thanks for the question, Graham. So this is something I think I've talked about for the last few weeks, and I'm really excited to say we're very close to be able to wire funds actually globally into Abra, and that's something that we'll have an announcement about soon. If you're in the UK and you want to get started right now, you can either deposit Bitcoin or deposit a stablecoin directly into the app, and then, of course, trade or add the money into your interest account. Let's see. John asks, how do you withdraw cash from the wallet to send back to the bank? Okay, so let me bring up the app here. I've got my trusty demo version of Abra. Okay, so here I am. When I start the Abra app, you see I'm in this portfolio view. And if I want to withdraw money, you see at the bottom, in the bottom right, there's a button that says withdraw. So I'm going to press that withdraw button, and that gives me a few different options. And if I'm in the US, my options are Bank ACH transfer. Bank ACH is the US system for just quickly doing a one-day transfer into my bank account directly. A bank wire, and that's exactly what you think it is if you're familiar with bank wires. And then the ability to send to a crypto wallet. So if I want to send to a crypto wallet, I choose the third option. And I can choose which balance, right? So I'll choose some of my True USD, and I can provide a True USD address. I can withdraw some of my Tether and provide a Tether address or Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency that I have. If I want to do a bank wire, right, I choose bank wire, and then I type in the bank account details that I will be sending money to. And I will automatically get those funds in my bank, usually in about 24 to 48 hours, depending upon the time and day of the week that I've initiated the transfer. So that's getting money out of the Abra app. Thank you for that. That was from John. Let's see. TK asks, why did you guys take away Amex from the Abra app? That's a good question. So the reason that we now, I'm going to press the add money button here at the bottom, and you'll notice that there's the ability to add money via Visa and MasterCard. And if we do that, then you are brought into a web page inside the Abra app that allows you to buy Bitcoin with your credit card or debit card. And the reason that we are focusing now on Visa and MasterCard is honestly because the limits are really high. I think you can add something like $20,000 a day via your Visa and MasterCard, whereas with Amex we were relegated to a couple of $100 a day. Okay, so use your Visa and MasterCard, and we hope to have more card options for you in the future. But right now you have a good option there. Nilo asks, will Abra give support to native SegWit addresses? So for those of you who don't know what SegWit is a technology upgrade to Bitcoin that recently happened that basically makes the size of individual transactions smaller so that we can fit more transactions in a single block on the Bitcoin blockchain. We use Bittrex for Bitcoin custody on the trading app. And as soon as Bittrex adds native SegWit support, then consumers will be able to deposit and withdraw to native SegWit Bitcoin addresses. So we'll announce that as soon as it's available, of course, and we look forward to our partners supporting SegWit. Thanks for that question. Is there the possibility of higher interest for Bitcoin in Abra? And this question comes from, I don't know how to say the name, Enger. And so let me talk about how interest rates are set in the app. So we run basically an investment committee inside of Abra, and that investment committee meets weekly, and then we look at what's happening in the markets in terms of how we are lending deposits. Abra lends stablecoins, Bitcoin, and Ethereum to myriad institutional borrowers, and then depending upon demand in the market, those rates are set. And you see the rates here in the app if I click on the interest tab. Those rates are set based upon that demand, and we're constantly looking at those, and we want them to be as high as possible. And and so those rates are basically set vis-a-vis that demand. And so obviously when the demand increases, particularly for Bitcoin, the rates for Bitcoin will increase as well. So that's the answer to that question. Let's see. We have a whole bunch here. Let me jump around a little bit. I live in the U.S. and my wife in the Philippines. That sounds tough. Can I send her crypto and she go to the BDO bank and get pesos with Abra? I believe the answer to that is yes. So if she has an Abra app in the Philippines, you simply send her the crypto from your Abra app to her Abra app. One easy way to do that would be you could actually convert it to dollars and then go to the send money. If you click on the main menu and go to the third item down, there's an item called send to an Abra user. You can actually send her the dollars directly and bypass the Bitcoin blockchain, or you can withdraw the crypto to an address that she gives you in her Abra app and then send her the Bitcoin directly. So either way would work. And then in her Abra app in the Philippines, she can simply withdraw to cash. Okay. So thanks for that question. Victor asks, why is there no web dashboard and only an app? That's a good question, Victor. So Abra is used all over the world, dozens of countries. And we really wanted to focus on the interface that the vast majority of our users want, and that was the mobile app. And so that's why we focused on iOS and Android out of the gate when we started Abra. And web interface is something that we are looking at and we may provide in the future, but the vast majority of our users want a mobile-first application. And so, that's why we have that, okay? So Raphael asks via Twitter, from where does the the 10% rate on dollars come from that we pay to the customers? So Raphael, good question again. So Abra runs an institutional lending desk that lends deposits very much like a bank does to high-grade borrowers, okay? And then we judge these borrowers based upon collateral requirements, quality of their balance sheets, what the use of funds, et cetera, et cetera. Again, just like a bank would do, lending deposits out to a small business, for example. The only difference here is that we're giving the vast majority of the interest we generate back to you, the consumer. And the bank does the opposite. The bank keeps the majority of the interest for themselves and gives you a small amount, actually zero today. Okay, thanks for that, Raphael. Paul asks, why am I unable to move ADA? Good question. So ADA Cardano, you'll see that I actually have some here, right? And so in my portfolio, I have about my test portfolio here, about $1,100 of Cardano. So right now, Cardano is unavailable for withdrawals because we're undergoing with our partner Bittrex the upgrade to the next release of Cardano, ADA. As soon as that upgrade is finished, we will add back in the ability to process withdrawals for ADA. Bittrex has not given us a date or time for finishing that upgrade, but as soon as it's available, we'll announce it on social media and via email to all ADA holders, and you'll be good to go. When is interest paid on Abra? This is a question from Victor. Victor, good question. Interest is paid on Monday mornings Pacific time, which is here in California. So you'll have to adjust that for wherever you are in the world. Usually it's around 9 a.m. and it's paid, again, weekly on that day, and it's for all of your accounts. So if you see here in my interest account, I have interest in PAX, which is a USD stablecoin, Bitcoin, Ether, and True USD. So I actually get 4 individual push messages on Monday mornings for the interest that I get in each individual account, which I love. They're my favorite. Usually I'm just getting back from my morning run and I get these push messages and I love it. What is the difference between USDC and USDT? Which one is safer? This is from Jerry. So Jerry, the difference is that they're different companies backing them. USDC is managed by a company called Circle. And they have a nonprofit called Center, I believe, which is managing this, and Coinbase is one of the members. And USDT is another company called Tether, which I believe was the first major stablecoin. I don't think one is safer than the other. I think that they're both using the traditional banking system to store dollars and then making those stablecoins available via Ethereum as ERC20 tokens, which we talked about earlier. And so you're totally free to choose between USDC, True USD, Tether, PAX. They all basically work the same in Abra. As I said, if you're making a deposit into Abra, I recommend that you use True USD, TUSD, simply because it saves you an extra step when we're doing a withdrawal, okay? But other than that, they're all the same. Roman asks, when can we earn interest on Cardano, Stellar, Litecoin, or Bitcoin Cash? Roman, excellent question. Stay tuned. I can't give too much away, but that's something we're very hard, and I hope to have an announcement soon, but nothing to announce today. But we love the requests. Every time you all ask for interest or another product in trading, it impacts our decision making. So keep the requests coming. We take them very, very seriously. Let's see. So Doug asks, is Abra a US-based company? Doug, yes. Abra, Plutus Financial, which is the holding company that operates the company Abra, is a US-based company. We're based in Mountain View, California, but we have operations in Southeast Asia. We have staff in Latin America, and we're looking to expand beyond that. But yes, our formal headquarters is in Mountain View, very close to my home where we're broadcasting today. Let's see. Are you paying capital gains when going from an Abra stablecoin back into USD fiat? So, Michael, my understanding is no, because basically you're doing an in-kind transfer where you're basically getting the dollar equivalent. So it's kind of like changing in the real world. It's like going from paper dollars to quarters. I think that would be considered an in-kind transaction, so you're not actually paying any capital gains. Carol asks, can I transfer my US dollars to a 10% interest bearing account? Carol, yes, that's what we do here at Abra. We make that available to you. You can deposit funds in myriad ways, different ways into the app. You can deposit via your bank account. Again, via the demo here, there's a withdraw button and there's an add money button. So in the middle at the bottom, you see add money. I'm going to press add money. I can add money via my bank. If I'm already a crypto user, I can deposit money via crypto. If I want to add money via my bank, I simply choose bank ACH, and then I choose add new bank account, and I can provide my bank details. Okay. I'm going to close out of that for now. Or I can also wire money directly into the app from my bank by choosing the bank wire. Once I set that up, I'll be given my own bank account number that I actually wire money into with Abra, which is pretty cool. And as I said, we're working to expand that in the next couple of weeks beyond the US to the entire world. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. So thanks for that question. So Carol, please try it out, by the way. Let me know how you get on with the app. And by the way, the other thing I would ask all of you to do right now is if you're watching us on YouTube, please, underneath the video, there's a subscribe button. Please push that button now and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It affects how Abra gets placed within YouTube and searches for things like Bitcoin and whatnot. So please support our efforts here. We put a lot of work into this. We'd appreciate that. So Gabriel asks, hey, hello, why in Guatemala, let's see, why do we need a passport to use the interest account? Gabriel, that's a good question. So to use the interest account, you're actually opening an account with a trust company in the US, which is a form of a bank. This company is called Prime Trust. And Prime Trust right now for non-US accounts requires a passport. We're working with them to eventually support other forms of identification outside the US beyond a passport. But right now, you will need a passport to open the interest account. So thanks for your support there. So another user asks, how do I convince my friends to use Abra? And their biggest concern is security. This is a great question. Okay, so Abra effectively acts like a bank for crypto, right? But we're not a bank in the formal legal sense in terms of like, Wells Fargo or Bank of America. So what's the difference, right? So Abra is dealing in cryptocurrency technology as opposed to storing money in a bank vault and doing fractional reserve banking, which is what a bank does. So to do that, we offer two services, right? We offer trading, right? And we offer the Abra interest account. For trading, we use a third-party custodian who effectively manages that money or cryptocurrency. And that cryptocurrency is, like I said, stored at the legal custodian. And that legal custodian is ultra high grade security. To our knowledge, they've never had a hack. And only Abra can actually direct the use of funds when you initiate a trade via the app. The second part of the security is the interest account itself. So over here, you see the interest in our test account. We've got over $100,000. You can have unlimited. You can actually put millions of dollars in there. We have users who have done that. We have users who put $10 in there. It doesn't matter, okay? We work with a US regulated trust company who is responsible for managing those deposits. Then Abra lends out those deposits to what we call high-grade borrowers who pass muster with our own internal investment committee. Again, this is similar to the way a bank would manage your money. The only difference is a bank can actually lend more than the deposits it has on hand. Abra cannot do that, okay? So we feel very confident in our security model and the fact that Abra is simply the single best app out there in the crypto world for earning interest on your dollars, trading cryptocurrencies, buying Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks for that. Let's see. Russ asks, what typically drives the value of little herd of coins? Some go up a large percentage one day and then drop significantly the next. Russ, that's a really good question. I don't have all the answers to that question, but altcoin trading definitely has peaks and valleys. I think one of the biggest factors is when you have these new projects, they have a relatively small number of token holders, and they're not always extremely liquid. And as a result, what happens is, they don't always have smooth movements because one person making a large purchase or 100 people making small purchases could actually move the price of that cryptocurrency significantly. So I've seen studies where some of these newer altcoins have high concentrations of holders in like less than a few hundred people. And that means one person selling or a few people buying or selling can actually move the markets in the short term. With altcoins, meaning currencies beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum, and of course your dollar deposits, my advice is don't invest any money you're not willing to lose. Assume that this is super high risk money for these altcoins. And do your own homework to understand how many people are holding the currency, how liquid is it, et cetera, et cetera. And Abra continues to try to publish more and more information to address those questions as well. But altcoins are definitely not for the faint of heart. But you can definitely profit from altcoins if you have the stomach for it. Okay. So another Prisoner Zero, interesting name, asks, could you speak to the demand side for Abra loans? Will huge supply coming in drive downward pressure on Abra rates in our near future? So that's a very good question. The question, again, let me just repeat, is if we get lots of deposits, is that going to drive down the interest rates because we'll have too much supply to meet lending demand on the other side? In the near term, I do not believe that will happen. The market for the borrow is quite big. It's certainly much, much bigger than Abra. It's being met by lots of different companies in the crypto space, which is actually good because there's no one kind of single point of failure or risk concentration in those lending facilities. And I suspect that the rates will be fairly stable for certainly a couple of months. You may see the interest rates go up and down 1 or 2 percentage points. Again, that's pure conjecture on my part. I have no insight to where interest rates are going. Things could change and they could fall dramatically or go up dramatically. But I don't suspect that will happen. But again, there are no guarantees. Things look pretty stable. And the large influx that we're already seeing, by the way, because to answer your question, we actually are seeing a large influx of deposits. They have not changed the interest rates. If anything, we've actually raised the interest rates on dollars since we launched the app or since we launched the interest product, and nothing has come down since. Okay. Raphael asks, where is my interest account money kept? So the interest account is managed by a company called Prime Trust. Prime Trust is a U.S. chartered bank trust, and then they have a legal custodian that they use to manage the cryptocurrencies, and only Abra can direct the use of funds in those accounts to manage your deposits and withdrawals, whether it's dollars or cryptocurrency. We use Bittrex for the trading side, but not for the interest account side. The interest account side is managed by Prime Trust. All right, so thanks, Raphael. Keep the questions coming. Carol, another question from Carol. Do I have a wallet all set up in Abra when I join? Yes. So when you when you install your Abra app for the first time and you run the app and you provide your phone number, set up your PIN code, you have an account, both a trading account set up, and then when you go through the KYC process or registration process, you get an account set up at Prime Trust for earning interest, okay? And those are managed directly from the Abra app. It's automatically handled for you. There's nothing else you have to do except follow the steps in the app itself. Most people are set up within a couple of minutes. It's super easy, okay? Why does it take so long to transfer funds from a bank to Abra? This is a question from Ralph. Ralph, that's a hard question to answer because it's a big planet. It depends on a few different factors. It depends on how your bank operates. We don't control the thousands of banks that are out there. The worst case scenario is you initiate a bank wire on Friday night, because that might not settle in Abra until, let's say, Monday afternoon. So that would be kind of a worst case scenario. So there's different factors that go into why a transfer might get delayed. Some small banks for bank wires may actually use what are called correspondent banks in the middle, which actually route money. That can actually increase the amount of time that it takes for a bank wire to settle. So Diego has a comment. What can I say? He's asking about his family and trusting the app. I trust the family. I trust the Abra app, but I want my family to trust the Abra app. So so Diego, I think the best thing you can do is be consistent, right? So if you're telling your family, hey, I use this app every week, and they see that you're earning interest, they see that you're executing trades, and that you're comfortable with the app day after day, week after week, people will get comfortable with this, and they'll hear the message that you're giving them. Okay, so I think consistency and being consistent with your message to the people that you care about and you want to evangelize Abra to is the best thing you can do. Okay, so we've got a few more questions coming in here. I want to remind everybody, if you're on YouTube, please click that subscribe button. Even if you're watching this via a recording later on, please click the subscribe button. Just get a quick drink here. Okay, so we have another question here about stablecoins. Let's see. Which stablecoin should I use? We already talked about that. They're all pretty much the same, as I said. Will you ever, Tobias asks, will you ever lower the withdrawal time when depositing directly to Abra? So again, this is dependent upon how you deposit money into Abra. So let me go into the Add Money screen. So again, if I'm on the bottom of the app here, I have a menu. I'm going to click on Add Money, and you see that there's different options. Now, if I use a bank wire or deposit via crypto or deposit via credit card to add money, I can withdraw the crypto immediately as soon as it lands in the app. Okay, if I buy via bank wire at noon on Monday and the money's there at 1 p.m., at 1:01 p.m., I can withdraw the money. The exception is bank ACH transfers. With bank ACH transfers, if you deposit via that, I just clicked on bank ACH to show you the function, and I deposit cash via, let's say, Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Capital One in the United States, you may have a hold on those funds in the app. You can still trade, right? But you can't withdraw the Bitcoin. You can't withdraw any dollars back to your bank until that hold period has expired. And that is due to fraud inherent in this ACH system, okay? And that fraud actually costs users a lot of money. And those are costs that we often have to pass back on. So to eliminate that fraud, we have no choice but to put that hold period in place. And of course, we're always looking to lower that wait time to be as quick as possible, okay? Let's see. Could you, Renee asks, could you comment on Fidelity getting into Bitcoin? Yeah, sure. Good question. There was an announcement from Fidelity a couple of days ago that I believe the president of the company was setting up a fund. It looks like that person was setting it up on behalf of Fidelity directly. I don't know the details of why they're doing it that way. But the idea, of course, is that they're institutional investors, and they're really focused on institutions, and ultra high net worth investors would be able to get Bitcoin exposure via this fund in the future when it launches. And that's very exciting. The more players we have coming into the space, the better off we are. Abby Johnson, the CEO of Fidelity, who I've had a chance to talk to several times about Bitcoin, is a huge fan of the crypto space. She is brilliant. She's one of my favorite CEOs in banking. This is a woman who manages trillions of dollars. She comes from, the Johnson family that has managed and created Fidelity over the years, and she's done a fantastic job not only growing Fidelity, but getting the company into crypto. When most bank CEOs wouldn't touch crypto, she was out there evangelizing it. She was mining, to my understanding, mining Bitcoin inside of Fidelity, and they've now set up a custody business for their corporate clients and institutional clients inside of Fidelity. So it's fantastic that we do have some banks operating on this planet that really get crypto, and Abby, the CEO of Fidelity, is definitely one of those people, and apparently the president of Fidelity is another one with this announcement as well. So thanks for those questions. A lot more coming in. Let me try to move up and down the list here to get some at random. Let's see. Got another question here. I noticed that my USDC deposit went to a Bittrex address. What happens if Bittrex closes? Why not manage your own private keys, et cetera, et cetera? So I'll get back to the second half of this question in a second. So Raphael, yes, we use Bittrex for managing custody on the trading side. Bittrex is a very, very large exchange. They are not going out of business. However, that having been said, if Abra decides to move those deposits to another custodian, we're certainly within our rights to do that anytime that we want to. Abra does not operate our own custody service inside of the company. We prefer to work with companies that have significant in-house expertise in those areas. Okay. And then the other part of the question, are the QR codes generated by Abra for my account permanent? Yes, to my knowledge, they are permanent. If that's not true, we'll let you know in the app. But yes, for example, if I want to do a Tether deposit, or for example, if I want to put up a sign somewhere that says "Send me Bitcoin to this address," yes, you can do that. Okay. Let's see. So we've got some other questions coming in here. Keep them coming. This is awesome. Let's see. Yeah. I did get feedback from my team. They're actually policing me in real time. You should always check to see if the QR code you're using is still valid. So if you print it out and use it, you should check on a regular basis. And because they do have the ability to change, our custody provider does have the ability to change addresses on us. So you should check to make sure that that code is valid, and then generate a new code if necessary. Okay. John asks, why do a lot of banks deny buying cryptocurrencies with a credit card? That's a very good question. So that's a tough question to answer, but basically what it comes down to is risk, right? So credit card companies, credit card issuers, the banks are basically in the risk management business. They're trying to make money on fees in different ways, and they're trying to mitigate losses. And the biggest loss in the credit card sphere is people who basically execute fraudulent transactions and then don't pay their credit card bill. And the problem with cryptocurrency is there's no physical product to return. And if you buy cryptocurrency with a credit card, you can obviously get access to that crypto in real time, withdraw it from the app. And then if you don't pay the credit card bill, the bank is out that money. And so a lot of banks simply don't like cryptocurrencies. Now, the good news is that if you're using a debit card, almost all bank debit cards work with Abra, to my knowledge. It's somewhat hit or miss with credit cards, and again, that has nothing to do with Abra or our partner Simplex. It simply has to do with different banks and their policies. I do think banks are getting better and warming up to cryptocurrencies, and things will improve more and more over time. But you should simply just check. I prefer a debit card if I'm doing the transaction via card in the first place. I actually prefer a bank account first. But if I can't use my bank account, then I prefer using a debit card. And then as a third kind of backup, I'll try a credit card. Okay. Let's see. We've got another question here from Julian. Why can't I get stock/equity exposure on Abra anymore? Julian, good question. For legal reasons, Abra has decided to no longer offer that service. It's something that we might do in the future. No current plans, nothing to announce. But it's from a legal perspective, it's a very expensive thing to do because Abra is also a global company. But that is something that we will look at trying to bring back in the future, and we'll obviously let everybody know. When. Again, Paul is asking about the wait for withdrawal. Is this permanent? So, Paul, I can't say for sure if this is permanent, but I would remind you that you can also place funds in the interest account during the waiting time. So if you're not planning on doing any trading, right, we do have this issue in place for fraud prevention, but you can earn interest at the same time by simply moving the Bitcoin or Ether or dollars over to your interest account. Okay. So let's see. We'll take a couple more questions here. Guys are awesome. Okay, here's another one. Let's see. I was denied access to using the site to add money or transfer money. I assume by site you mean the Abra app. Is that because of banking laws in some states? So, Tony, that question is really impossible to answer. Once you provide your personal information and try to link your bank account, that information is verified or attempted to be verified by the Abra system. If there's an issue with that verification, sometimes you can be denied service. My suggestion would be to send an email to support@abra.com, support@abra.com. Provide your wallet ID. By the way, to get your wallet ID, if you click on the menu in the top left, you'll see under my photo is a wallet ID. If you give that wallet ID to the support team, tell them what the problem is that you're having, they can usually help you right away. Okay? So thanks for that question, Tony. Jerry asks, does Abra issue a year-end 1099 on your deposits such as USDC? For our international audience, a 1099 is a U.S. tax form, which usually purports to show income via interest or some other gain. So Abra doesn't send an actual 1099 for trading. Our plan is to start sending 1099s for interest on the interest account. On the trading side, we allow you to download your trading history. And the reason for that is sometimes you're depositing Bitcoin into Abra that you may have gotten somewhere else. Now, I have no idea what you paid for that Bitcoin. Abra has no idea what you paid for that Bitcoin. So it's impossible for us to issue a 1099 if we don't know what you paid for something. So you'll be able to get all the information you need to figure that out via the yearly transaction history that you'll be able to download to prepare your taxes. And we've been running that for a couple of years now. And the feedback from users has been that it's great and it addresses all of their needs. So Artie asks, I'm in the US. Can I send money from my brokerage account? If you can wire money out of your brokerage account, you should be able to wire that money into Abra. Artie, if you go to add money in the app, again, at the bottom, you choose bank wire transfer that you see on the screen. You enter your in personal details, you'll receive the wire instructions, and you'll be able to send that money directly to the Abra app from your brokerage. And please do. And then you'll be able to earn interest on money via your wire transfer. How can I promote the service or app here in Colombia? Is that possible? That's a question from Nathan. So Nathan, the best thing you can do right now is simply provide the link to download Abra from the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store to all of your friends. And you can do that via social media, Facebook, text message, et cetera, et cetera. And, we really appreciate you doing that to your friends. Thanks again, Nathan, for the request there. And Roman asks, can we talk about Abra's relationship with Stellar and the benefits that come from this relationship? Does Abra use Stellar Network at this time? That's a great question. So Stellar, most of you know, is the organization behind Lumens, which is XLM in the Abra app. So if I scroll down here, you'll see Stellar. I have all the currencies here, so let's see where it is. There's XLM, Stellar Lumens, which has had a decent year, I believe. And so Stellar is an investor via their nonprofit arm into Abra. And we haven't actually announced what we're doing with Stellar. But keep in mind, if you actually look at their website, I won't give anything away that's not public information. You can actually use the Stellar network and the Lumen technology to actually create new tokens, and that's an interesting an aspect to their technology. And so stay tuned. We'll have some announcements in the future as to how Abra and Stellar are partnering. Let's see. Does Abra also provide services for LLCs? And again, for people outside the U.S., LLC refers to a business as opposed to a person. So that's something that we're working on. So, Island, if you send an email to hello@abra.com and tell us exactly what you need, we'll keep that on file because, again, we're trying to figure out a process for making it easier to onboard corporate clients as LLCs or C Corps or international companies. We're getting a lot of requests for that, so thanks for that. Michael Clemente asks, do I foresee Abra being available in New York within the next year? Michael, I'll go out on a limb and say within the next year, probably. I can't guarantee when that would be. But if you give me a year, I would say there's a reasonable chance. And for those of you not familiar, in all of the world where we're legally allowed to offer services, the one place where we can't is the state of New York, and this has to do with the bit license requirements. And so that's something that I look forward to being able to provide in the future. Ash asks, who is Abra's custodian? Ash, we have two different custodians we work with. Let me go back to my portfolio view here. So you see I have a trading account and I have an interest account. For the trading account, our custodian is a company called Bittrex, and they're a licensed money transmitter in lots of U.S. states where they need to be to provide that custody service. And on the interest account side, we work with a company called Prime Trust. Prime Trust is a U.S. chartered bank trust company that is allowed to provide custody services in all U.S. states. And so that's one of the reasons why you might see, for example, New York back in the next year or so. So thanks for that question, Ash. Yotam, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Yotam asks, do you work with all banks in America? In the United States, to my knowledge, you can wire funds from any bank in the United States into the Abra app with no with no limitations outside of the amount. And we're working to even raise the amount. So no issues there. Jerry asks, does Abra have plans to have limit orders for cryptocurrency transactions? So for example, could I buy Bitcoin with a limit order? A limit order is for the non-traders here. Most of our users aren't traders. A limit order is a more advanced order type, which means an order doesn't get executed until a certain price is reached. And so, for example, if I want to buy Bitcoin and the price is at $1,100, maybe I wait until the price gets down to $1,000, and I can execute the order to say don't buy until it reaches $1,000. So that is something that we are looking at for the future. I don't have anything to announce. We do get a lot of requests for those more advanced order types. It is something we're looking at. The key for us at Abra is making sure that we don't make the app too complex for the average Abra user who may not want all of those advanced features, but it is something that we're looking hard at doing. Artie asks, what is the fee for buying Bitcoin and other cryptos in my trading account? Abra does not have trading fees. So if I click on the exchange button, and let's say I want to convert some true USD into Bitcoin, right? There is no fee for actually doing the transaction. Abra simply makes a small amount on the spread between the market spot rates and the rate that you pay, kind of like trading money at the airport when you're traveling, okay? So there's no actual transaction fee for the transaction. All right, thanks for that question. So we're approaching 10 a.m. Let's see, I'm getting a little tired here from all the talking, but the questions are awesome. I can barely keep up. Let's see. Bunch of more questions. I'm getting a lot of more of the same questions. I don't want to repeat all of them. And why does Abra use dollars or store dollars as stable coins as opposed to just storing dollars? So that's a good question. Abra in the United States only supports stablecoins. Outside the US, we actually support other currencies via bank partners. But in the US, we only support dollars via stablecoins. So if you're using Abra, for example, in the Philippines, you'll see Philippine pesos and you'll see the stablecoins. Okay, so you'll have both. And you actually have the ability to move back and forth between both. And that's something that is unique to our non-US users. Okay. How does Abra make a profit? Sargarden asks, how does Abra make a profit? Thanks for that question. So Abra profits today in two ways. We profit primarily from our trading activities. So as I said, we don't have actual trading fees, but when you move money, for example, between, I'm going to click on exchange, let's say True USD and let's say Bitcoin Cash, Abra may make a small amount on the spread between the amount of Bitcoin Cash you get and the actual market price, okay? The second way that Abra makes money. If I go back to my portfolio view on the interest account, while the vast majority, let's say 80 to 90% of the interest is going to the consumer, a small amount of that interest is actually going to Abra. Okay. Again, that's kind of the opposite of what a bank does. A bank actually keeps 80 to 90% of the interest themselves and gives you a sliver. Actually, even less than that, because today they're effectively paying zero. Okay. Akeem asks, can you confirm there will be no issues with liquidity if I want to disperse funds, which I assume means withdraw funds from my interest account? So yes, Akeem, I can confirm that you can deposit any amount. We don't have limitations on how much you can deposit, and you can withdraw any amount that's in the account. There are no limitations on how much you can withdraw. We do ask that you give us up to 7 days to process withdrawals. Most withdrawals are processed the same day, depending upon the day of the week. Sometimes it might be the next day. The vast majority are processed certainly within 24 hours, but the terms of service do request up to a week. And again, no problems in terms of liquidity there. We've never had an issue with processing a withdrawal. To my knowledge, we process tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in deposits and withdrawals, money moving in both directions every day with no problem. Okay, so we are coming up on 10 o'clock. A couple of things before I go. First, if you haven't clicked the subscribe button, if you're on YouTube or even on Facebook, click the like button to subscribe to our Facebook channel. Please do. If you happen to be watching us on Twitter via Periscope, you can follow us there as well. The more people that follow us, the more we get the word out, the more we have to invest in this content. Another interesting article I read yesterday that I wanted to point out to you is from the Winklevoss twins. Pomp wrote about it in his newsletter this morning. I was reading it again. It's pretty interesting. The thing about these guys, they have a mixed reputation. I love them. I think to basically take 8 figures of their own money, they put $13 million in Bitcoin in 2013. Think about that for a second, right? Bitcoin was effectively worthless. They put 8 figures of money, and that 13 million is now worth $2.5 billion. Anyway, they wrote a really interesting article yesterday about the effects of the U.S. economy, the likely onslaught of inflation and its effects on the price of Bitcoin. This is something that I've talked about almost every single week here on Money Talks and in our weekly newsletter. So take a look at that. I'll post a link to it from my Twitter feed, Bill Barhydt at Abra, and so have a read and would love to hear your comments on that. So that's it. I think we're gonna stop there. Fantastic week. If you have more questions, please send an email to hello@abra.com. If it's a support question, please send an email to support@abra.com. Of course, you can follow Abra Global on Twitter. That's Abra Global on Twitter. We also answer questions there. And thanks for your support, everyone. We love doing this show. We're up to thousands of viewers every week now across all the channels, and it makes it really exciting to do this. And please keep helping us get the word out to more and more people about Abra. And until next week, have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.